Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the City of Reading Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. And here in the room with me is Danny Defoyle, James Harris, Peter Rhines, myself, I'm Wayne Beeler, I'm chairman, and Vice Chairman Wilson Peace, who's joining us via Zoom. First, plan for review is the annexation land development plan for 138 South 8th Street, and I'll turn it over to Jerome for the update.
Okay, as you may recall, the planning commission approved this plan.
Hey, if
on
you
March
could just
26, 2024.
email us comments, just
Subject to
because
conditions. The remaining
we-
conditions,
council made the
are
comment
outlined
about
in
not
the
being able to
letter
hear
dated
you.
on May
So
21st,
it might be better if you just
2024, that was
email
17.
me any comments you have.
Issues,
That way I have it in writing.
We had asked that a few notes be placed on the plan to cover some of those.
Yeah, hang
requirements.
on the regular line, and then any comments, email me.
The biggest ones are the planning module, as well as the municipal improvements
Yeah, no
agreement
problem. Okay.
and possible stormwater management. I think those are
Okay.
the biggest issues.
So
The other ones are just checks and balances with other
Yeah.
departments. So these are the ones that are on board, and we've also asked them to coordinate and or to check in with staff to make sure that all fees are paid. So no action required.
So that's good. Okay. So there's no action.
So just quick question, I have a quick question for Tim regarding 138 South 8th. I know that, I believe Ludgate was supposed to speak with you about if they needed to do modules or not. Because there was 3 lots being annexed, so they may have had more than 1 EDU already.
Yeah, that's correct. I think he was supposed to send us a narrative to explain what the proposal is. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, Tim, you didn't see it yet because I didn't send it yet because I'm still
Okay.
looking for some water records.
Okay,
So I figured
Well-
you'd want water records of an apartment and then extrapolate that from, to the 6 and compare it to 3 standard EDUs.
I tell you what, if Tom, if you could send me the proposed, because I don't know the size of these units, if you could tell me what your the situation with the apartments, the number of, are they just apartments or are there any retail?
No, just apartments.
All apartments, okay. Yeah, if you could send me that, I can check water records. I mean, as far as the historic records, and then I can compare that against what you're proposing.
I'll do that, no problem. Great.
Okay, and one other thing too, and I don't want to drag out the meeting, but as far as the address goes, we're working on that. It'll be 138 South 8th Street for all 3 lots. However, I'd advise you to give Chris Lovell a call. I think you know Chris, right? In our engineering office.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, because he's now getting instructions that each of those units will need a sub address. So it'll be like 138 South 8th Street, apartment 1, or
Right.
in apartment 2. So we just want to establish that. And he'll need a map that shows each of those in a, I guess, elevation view. I mean, shows physically where they're at. So I don't know if you have architecturals that you could lay out where those are in
I think we do.
space.
Yep, I think we do. Yep.
Yeah, if you could do that, that's going to help him coordinate then with the county emergency system, which they're trying to set up.
Okay, got it.
Also, Tom, for the annexation, if you could send us a copy of that revised deed, that way we can make sure it's actually annexing the 3 parcels together and not just putting 3 parcels on 1 deed.
Yeah, that was submitted with the last stuff I sent in.
They did? Okay.
I'll resend it, no big deal. Yeah, we sent in a proposed legal description.
Okay, thanks.
You got it.
Anything else on this plan? Okay, hearing none, this plan doesn't require any action since we've already approved it, so we will move on to 338 North Sixth Street.
Actually, 138 does require reaffirmation. I don't know if you want to do that now while we're at it.
Yeah,
That section, the next, the lower part.
Yeah.
yeah, it's 11A. Yeah. Yeah, let's hit it later. Since yes.
Okay.
And that's administrative stuff. So we will move on to 338 North Sixth Street and another annexation and land development.
Yes, this was another plan that the planning commission approved on March 26, 2024. Subject to conditions, we received a response from the applicant. This is involving 4 parcels of land that are going to be joined, and other uses would be accompanying that. There is a parking lot that's going to be proposed containing 19 parking spaces, proposed building addition of 340 square feet. And there are some site accessibility issues that we pointed out. Again, with the applicant was requested to go to Public Works to verify the planning module was necessary. The stormwater management plan was acceptable. It appears that compliance is adequate, and it would be up to us to determine if the stormwater management maintenance plan would be, or agreement would be necessary. Would be required as part of the Public Works review of the municipal improvements agreement. Everything else appears to be adequate. We've asked that the applicant provide a few notes for compliance, and that's all I have. Similar type project. So no action.
So did we get confirmation if modules are needed?
So same as the last one, Emily. Tom, we're waiting for a narrative unless you provided it. I didn't see it in the file.
Yeah, we kind of put it in the response memo, but I'll send a separate narrative, Tim. Essentially, there's no change in the you know, the use, the number of tables, that kind of thing. So I don't think any planning modules needed because it's just in a parking lot for an existing use. Actually,
So
it'll be less flow because there's a few apartments there that are going to be going.
See, that's what I need in the narrative. If you can
Okay.
explain the retail and, you know, the commercial and the residential use.
Yep.
Do you know what they are offhand? I mean, do you recall? The
Yeah,
total
the
EDUs.
the existing use is a bar restaurant with like 3 apartments. The proposed use is a bar restaurant.
With no residential,
Correct.
Oh, okay. And what did you calculate the use
I didn't
would
go in
be?
calculation, Tim, because I said, what does it matter? The flow's not changing.
Well, here, the reason why is because we use the flows, the historic flows from a particular period of time, which is the date when we did our last Act 537 update. So we know what those flows are.
Yeah,
Those
wait a
flows
minute.
are acceptable.
Wait a minute. No, the bar restaurant is there today in that building.
Yeah, I know, but you have to understand, what's there today doesn't matter. What matters is what was being used when we did the last Act 537. When we did the last update, we took flows for the whole system. So whatever was flowing during the years, during the 2011 and 2012 years when those flows were recorded, that's what counts. If we're seeing you're increasing flows above that year, that period of time when the flows were recorded for the Act 537, then we would need
What
planning
actually,
planning
Tim, wouldn't
modules.
it be whatever EDUs were assigned to that unit?
If you have it,
Well, don't you have it? Because wouldn't you have done the
It-
537?
we do not have any planning approval for that lot. There's nothing on record.
Okay,
So it would be an assumed 1 EDU, and any change could not exceed 2 EDUs.
so I'm just gonna tell, okay, I'll give you a narrative
So-
that says there's been no change in use since 2011, 2012. I mean, it's the same
Well-
thing it's always been.
But again, I need to know flows. I need gallons per day, average gallon per day. If you want to, and I can either compare it to the 2 EDUs, if you're not exceeding 2 EDUs, which seems like that might be reasonable. If that's all it is the bar restaurant. I don't know. Again, you'd have to show me with a narrative what the gallons per day is. I can tell you right now that I could go easily to 2 EDU, as long as you don't exceed 2 EDUs, but I already checked the 2011 and 2012 on our historic records, and it's a little over 3 EDUs. So you could actually go up to 3, and I could qualify that this lot or combination of lots, now you've got an annexation,
Right.
would be acceptable up to 3 EDUs. So all I need is a narrative for you to justify, which seems to be pretty apparent to me, that your bar restaurant would probably be less than that. But if you could send me the calc or,
Yep.
base it on something so that you
Sure.
could, I don't want to put words in your mouth is basically what I'm saying.
All right, I will send you a narrative of that one too.
Very good. And a stormwater management agreement, since you do have a BMP
I was waiting
proposed.
for you to review the escrow number we provided.
Yeah. We did, and I think you included the building as well in your escrow. Is that right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We just did we were probably a little high, but we just did a stormwater. That,
Okay.
for the last two, we provided an escrow number. So I was just waiting for you guys to accept it, and then I could pass it
Right.
on to, the client to fill out the agreement.
Yeah, I had some comments there for
Okay.
Jerome. Was this the one, Jerome, that I commented on? I'm trying to remember where it looked like. Was the deck included on this? Were parts of the building improvements included?
That might have been included. Yeah, 'cause I'm not really sure what you guys would want in your escrow, but we can always
Yeah.
pull it out.
Well, unless the deck is part of a required improvement, is that part of the stormwater management?
No. But it is, so again, we'll be glad to address whatever you think.
Yeah, I mean, that was my only comment on your
Okay.
escrow, was that you actually probably had more in there than you needed.
Very good. Great.
Anything else on this plan? Okay, hearing none, this plan, once again, will require reaffirmation at the end of the meeting. Next up is the Castlewood revision to plan of record. I'll hand it over to Jerome for the updates.
This plan is back in front of you with regards to the dedication of internal road network of from the homeowners association to the city of Reading. Some things have changed since it was appeared to us last, in which Tim is be able to explain much better detail. But the same conditions still apply. It is a dedication of internal road system, 2,300 square feet or 2,300 linear feet. And the roads are Kingsway and Queens Court. And we did provide some comments that should be considered for consideration. But it seems like most of this effort will be through Public Works.
Do you have anything on this for us, Tim?
Oh, sure. Yes. So we just received the legal description today, so I do need to have our surveyor review that. It's the one that was drawn up like 20 years ago. So I just want to make sure that he's okay with that. Now, the meets and bounds that were shown on the plan were reviewed, and they are okay. The meets and bounds, the way they were described. But have we received, Tom, have we received an updated plan since last month? There were some comments there.
I was waiting to submit everything in one chunk. I wasn't sure if the city council actually dedicated Glen Overglen or whatever it's called.
Glen Road. It is Glen Road. I know it says Over Glen Road on the drawing that you prepared, but it is Glen Road.
Is that dedicated? I was waiting for that to be dedicated.
It is dedicated. It's been
Okay.
officially dedicated now by city council. So that was I guess it was earlier this month or the end of last month. I lose track.
Okay.
So yeah, we would need to see that change now on your deed. It does say over Glen Road. It references a point of beginning or whatever, one of your corners is referencing over Glen Road.
Right.
So on the legal description that we're going to use, for the dedication of the Castlewood streets would need to reference Glen Road and also the Glen Road that, that was dedicated.
Yep.
So we'll need that. There was a couple other things too that we discussed the last time. I think the only major thing really was the homeowners agreement and the stormwater management agreement, which we still need. I think the way that Michelle Mayfield expressed it last time was what we need to see. And I think it's a combination of both the owners, especially the ones with the culvert pipes, and the homeowners association. What we'd like to see is that the homeowners would continue to maintain the swales the way they've been doing it for years. I don't think the owners want Public Works coming in there mowing their front yard or tending to their planting areas and whatnot. So yeah, I think we need to have something language in there that describes the responsibility for maintaining those the routine upkeep of the swales as being both the homeowners and the homeowners association. Michelle, do I
Yeah.
have that right?
Yeah,
that-
that's correct. And Mr. Rabina did send me the existing agreements among the homeowners to mark up. So I am
Okay.
working through that.
Oh, good.
And then
Yeah.
Tim, I met with the Castlewood representatives. They're gonna get a cost estimate, some quotes to address the, I'll call it infrastructure issues that are in that report by CEG.
Right.
And I think the simplest thing is to have that work done, then dedicate.
If
Or-
you want to do it that way, that's fine. But then I would recommend we don't approve it until we get that work done.
I mean, or we can do the developers agreement and then have an escrow for the work. I mean, whatever. So I don't think we have an answer on that one yet, Tim. I think we're waiting for the quotes
Okay.
to come in, and then we have just an idea. Is it a $10,000 problem?
Yeah.
Let me- Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd just like to interject here. Thanks to Attorney Mayfield, she's helping us through the part about the agreement and the stormwater agreement. And we've got vendors that are to give us estimates on an initial cleanup and then a routine cleanup. Now, I haven't heard back from any of them because this is obviously a bad time of the year and everybody's up to their eyeballs and stuff with the rain and whatever. But if you recall, when we initially started this, we said that the HOA would continue to maintain those. So, we haven't changed our position on that. And so, we need to wait until we get the estimates in. And then whenever Attorney Mayfield gets back to me, I can work on getting those agreements signed. And however we can continue to move this along, why it would be appreciated, because we've waited a real long time for this to happen. Thank you. And thanks to everybody who's worked on this. I appreciate it.
Very good. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Tim, I don't know your position, but I think it'd be better for them to do the work and then dedicate
Okay.
and then just provide an 18-month maintenance escrow.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that would be a better way. And I don't know that they've been waiting this long. So I guess doing it that way would be a more appropriate way to handle it. And then after all that's done, well, actually, once it's done and the planning commission approves, the next step then is to dedicate. So my question to you, Michelle, where does the city council's opening or dedicating, I guess it's the homeowner association, they're dedicating, city council is opening these two new streets for adoption to the official topographic plan. Would
I-
they do that before or after planning commission?
The planning commission could approve a condition upon their acceptance. That way the plan could show that they are city streets and we just don't release the plans until the city accepts dedication.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is that agreeable?
Oh, yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah.
That way we can make some sort of recommendation to council. Like we normally do with the street dedication. And, that seems all right.
Yeah, in fact, Michelle, then I think that even more makes sense to have the repairs made prior to that conditional approval and recommendation then to city council.
Because again, I think that negates an improvements agreement. We'll just have a stormwater agreement and some type of short maintenance agreement that they'll 18
months.
month escrow, yeah.
Yep, makes sense.
Well, couldn't you just approve it conditioned upon those items being done before acceptance?
I think Tim has some other issues.
Oh,
I think
okay.
there's some things that need
Well-
to be cleaned up on the plan itself.
Well, yeah, there's a couple things, they're minor things, which I'm sure.
But I don't think that they're
could be-
major enough that would cause the problem, the project to go south, so.
Yeah, but Dan, what we're saying is that option then would require, if they were to take action tonight, for instance, or next month, before the repairs are made, then you'd have to put up an improvement agreement, an escrow for an improvement agreement. And Michelle is suggesting, well, we can avoid that or just have the 18-month maintenance be the only issue there for that bond. That would be all that would be required if you did the repairs first. Got that all done.
Yeah.
Yes, I
doesn't-
think,
What do you think, Phil? I'm sorry.
I think what we'll do is, which would save us some money if we don't have to put up more escrow money. I don't think the 18-month agreement to maintain is going to be any kind of a problem at all. Because
No.
I think once we get the initial things done that you wanted, I don't see that there's going to be a whole lot of problems after that. I don't, to me, I think that would work better than us having to put up more money, because we can put that money towards the cleanup and the long-term contract to take care of that matter. I guess what my concern is, and I think Dan's is too, that we don't want this thing to linger on for months and months and months, and another year goes by and we're still trying to clean things up. So, I know that as soon as we get the numbers in, we're going to work on our end of it. And as soon as I hear back from Michelle, I'll be knocking on doors and getting people to take care of that paperwork. So,
And Phil and I are getting old, so we want to get it done before that.
yeah,
well,
I'd rather not have to sign it at Charles Evans.
oh, no. Well, I think there's a couple i's and t's to dot and cross that, give it another month. Excuse me, for all of us to work through these t's and i's, and then we can, I think we'll be a lot closer next month, but I think since we all have some homework assignments, I would
Okay.
recommend putting on hold for at least one more month and keeping it on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, that's fine. And I think the only thing that I see could be a problem is even if we get a vendor to do it, which I'm sure we will, can they get it done promptly enough to do that? And Dan and I will work on that with them once
Well,
we get numbers.
I think if you get that far, we can talk about a conditional plan approval. And
Okay,
again, just not release the plans until the work's done and city council accepts dedication, which may require reaffirmation, which, as you know, is a simple motion by the commission.
Well,
And
the work that they're asking for is minimal. Just
yeah.
not something we can do, right, Phil?
Well, yeah, at our age, it's not a lot, but it just doesn't work. We need somebody else to do that. But we will keep working on it, and we are working on it, so.
And then if, you know, we do give conditional approval and a recommendation. Street dedication, I think, takes 2 months, I think, for council to do.
It does. That's the third class city code. It's a rather drawn out. I think, Michelle, what is it? How many days is it? It's like 2 months, like you're saying. That's what we had to do for Glen Road.
Mhm.
It's not like you read it, you have a first reading and then in 2 weeks you can vote on it. It's more extended, and there's going to be a public hearing as well, which they usually do before the Cal meeting,
Right.
like we did for it. So it's just going to be a rerun of Glen Road, and that took like 2 months.
Yeah, so we, so we would like to get your conditional approval because, that for council's work to do, you still have 2 months, and hopefully you can get that swell work and whatever needs to be done during that time. Because we're not going to hold, we're not going to hold it up. Because like Michelle said, we'll just hold on to the plans until the work's done.
And what we can do, we can also, if we have a good draft of the agreements, then we can work on getting those executed during those 2 months. So you don't
Yeah.
have to necessarily get those agreements executed before the commission gives a conditional approval.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right,
We'll work on it and get it done.
yes. Thank you. And I mean, as soon as we've got things, I'll send emails out to people to keep you informed as to what's going on.
I know this has been at least 4 years that you've been working on this, so we do want to see this get done now. Does anyone else have anything for this project? Do we need a motion to? Yes. Okay, so do I hear a motion to table the plan for the Castlewood revision to plan record for the annex for the dedication of Kingsport and, or Kingsway and Queensport? Peter, second. Dan? Yeah. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay,
Very good. Thank you very much.
all right. Thank you.
Here.
And stay in touch with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now we move on to the Reading School District Thomas Ward. It says elementary school on here, but I believe this is the RKAA. The Reading Knight Accelerated Academy. Their proposed aquaponics building, and I'll hand it over to Jerome for the introduction.
Where they submitted a sketch plan, and let's give the applicant the opportunity to present the plan. It is a hydroponics plan that is going to be the principal expansion, but let's turn it over to them for better explanation.
Sure.
Aretha is a term with Apex. Mr. Garris from the school district, Mr. John Evans.
Real quick. Sorry. Can you move up here? Because that mic isn't picking up what you're saying. Sorry.
Will I be on screen?
No.
No. Aretha Izotaro with Wilkinson Apex, formerly Stackhouse Bensinger. Here with Mr. Garris from the school district and John Evans from FTG Architects. What is being proposed is currently at the Thomas Ford / RKAA campus, existing facilities. It's a proposed 2,100 square foot aquaponics building that utilizes fish tanks to provide nutrients and water, and plants are grown hydroponically, no soil, uses the nutrients out of the water. It's kind of a extension or a classroom to learn about that for the students there. It is currently being proposed to be located in this general area of existing asphalt. So our overall coverage, at least for the footprint of the building, is unchanged as far as impervious coverage. Again, it's about 2,100 square feet of building. Proposed utility services are all coming from the existing building immediately adjacent. Aside from sanitary sewer, they could not tie that in. So we're proposing, in this case, a force main down to Margaret Street. That's the closest sewer in location. And due to the elevation and topography, we're actually starting out lower with the invert out of the proposed building than it would be at the connection point. Ergo, we have to, we can't do gravity sewer down to there. That's generally it. There's some minor site improvements, a walkway. We currently have a proposed, if you can go to the second, I don't want to touch it. And then down towards the bottom of page 2. There should be maybe hand right. One more. There you go. So you can see here's the proposed building. This is all existing asphalt. It's proposing to rehab it since it'll probably get beat up. It's a newer facility, want newer there. Small 5-foot walk tie into existing walk. There was a request to have access to the north. There's existing parking area to provide a 12-foot wide asphalt or some type of improved surface back here for smaller deliveries. They're not, I don't think there's anything like, we're not going to get semi trucks in here. It's just, it's a quicker access rather than. Again, we've got a force main that ends up having to tie into the sanitary. If you could pan a little further, right? We do propose one particular yard drain in an area that kind of gets trapped. Otherwise, it's all splash to grade, I believe, and there's some discussion about roof water collection, and or potentially a small portion of green roof. That's still in the works as far as what they might be able to use some of that for. Again, this little yard drain, we could discharge it to lawn and let it sheet flow out. That's a possibility, but at this point, we're showing it tying into the existing storm system that does run north-south on the campus.
Going back to our review, the lot is considered it's in the R3 zoning district, and we'd ask the zoning office to take a look at this. The special exception would be required since it's an existing use. It may not. We need to resolve that matter as part of this application.
We did submit a zoning permit application. I haven't had any correspondence back, whether it was.
I was waiting for this first and then, yeah.
So you technically can consider this as an accessory component of the principal use. So it most likely will not be required. We brought up the aquaponics building being, and this is going to be for students who are already at the facility, not additional students being brought in. Just same students, just different opportunities.
No, it would be both. It would also be a field trip location, students throughout the district.
Okay.
But not necessarily, semester.
No, it would be like elementary students would potentially go there for a field trip, which is why we're adding the laboratory services to that building versus having them go into a building. The RKA is grades 5 to 8, so keeping some separation between K4 and 5 to 8 the students would be able to utilize the lavatory within that facility. And again, there would be, it wouldn't be like an entire class trip. It would be, 1,400 students, would just be individual classrooms that would go there, throughout the year.
So you would do that. With the sewer plants. With the stormwater management, we do recognize that there are a number of hydroponic operations or aquaponic operations that do utilize the roof for water or reuse of water, and as part of the agricultural provisions that you have for this facility. So that's up to you. I mean, that's something else you can put into your narrative, and also address if there is a stormwater management plan that's required on how you want to address it.
Yeah, I don't see this needing a full, I mean, Mr. Kroll can weigh in as to what he thinks, at least at this point. I don't see the necessary stormwater management plan. We're talking about 1 yard drain and splashing the grade, but.
So it's slightly over, I mean, there's 2,100 square feet that's being proposed as far as the aquaponics operation, and then there is existing impervious coverage that they will be placing this building on. So it's they did provide a net increase that should be considered for future consideration as part of the stormwater management design. Do you want a stormwater management plan?
I think I heard, do you want a stormwater management plan? Is that right, Aristides? Is that,
Well,
is
I
that,
guess that's the bottom line that everyone's gonna.
yeah, yeah, I think we do. And I heard I think I heard the discussion that you may disconnect those roof drains and have it run through the grass area before it goes into an inlet, which would be highly desirable, rather than have the roof connect directly to the street.
Yeah, at this point, we have no roof drains connected to storm. It's literally just a yard drain, area of lawn. Yes, area.
Yeah.
An area of lawn that's between the existing walkway and the proposed building. I couldn't quite get across, that proposed 5-foot walk out the rear of the building, you see that on the north side. It just kind of got trapped. I didn't want it flowing across the sidewalk, so we put in a small yard drain to get it out and across that walk, which we could daylight into the lawn north of that walk and eliminate any physical connections to the existing storm system. Just sheet flow through the site to the north.
Yeah, because you're 2,100 square feet. Right now, the ordinance doesn't have a de minimis area, but it will shortly, and that would be 1,000 square feet. So you're over the de minimis. So the stormwater management ordinance would apply. So if you were to do something like what you're describing, that may be sufficient enough to carry the day as far as, BMP, as far as, compliance with the ordinance. And also the idea of reuse of rainwater, that's another plus too. You could work that in somehow.
That was my idea. Sorry.
Yeah, that,
So we do have that in one of our plans to have the cistern for rain runoff, because there's very little water that is disposed through the operation. It's all going to evaporate. So that water that we'll be adding will more likely come from recaptured rainwater. So it almost will be nearly fully sufficient on itself.
So as far as getting the information to you, if we're disconnecting, we don't have any proposed roof drain connections. If we disconnect the yard drain and provide a stormwater narrative, is that what you're kind of looking for to show that we're compliant?
yeah, that's what I'd be looking for. I don't know, Jerome, you're the one that's going to be looking at the details of it, but yeah, I think something like that, something was going to have to be done, a narrative or report of some type to address the stormwater management.
I don't know if it would be beneficial. I did send out a email about an hour before the meeting, that, I don't know if it would be beneficial, if it would be less steps, if we could just update the stormwater management, agreement for the old magnet school that we did in 2005.
It's before my time.
Yeah, it was just it's just a question. I don't know if that would make it easier.
It's a good question. We'd have to research that. I don't have a copy of it.
My guess would be
Is that during your time?
it would, depending when during my time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure we were doing stormwater agreements, and I really question if they were recorded.
Yeah, 2005 would predate the original stormwater ordinance of 2008.
Well, that answers that question. I'll look in our
In
regular.
order to help the applicant out on this project, I think we can handle this as a preliminary such final plan application.
Would this be a full or would it be considered
Fine.
minor?
And being more than 10 years ago, if an agreement's necessary, I would do an amended agreement, but if an agreement's necessary in this case, unless we find one, record it, I would do a new one.
Then, I was hoping you would be here today, Wayne. I just wanted to have you explain what RKAA means, to explain it.
Sure. So, RKA is the Red Knight Accelerated Academy. It's individuals that are grades 9 to 12 that are behind on credits based on grade level. If a student is sufficient, they can go to one of 3 RKAs and focus just on credits. So it's kind of a credit recovery program. Allows for students to get caught up. And if they're caught up to be consistent with their grade level, they can return to the high school. However, many students find the success of a smaller learning environment to be beneficial. And if that's the group evaluation decision that works best for that student, they can remain at the RKA through graduation. In some cases, there are students who get enough credits to graduate, well, they'll graduate early, and then the goal is to get them out into the workforce. We partner with Gage Personnel to find them employment immediately following their time at the RKA if they graduate from there. So it works in the favor of both the students and the staff to make sure that they're getting proper defined learning environment.
How many students are?
There's with 3 locations. There's one at Thomas Ward, one at Glenside, and one on City Line Avenue where the old JCC was located. And they, on average, 300 students would be the max that we put there.
All 3.
300 each, so we could have 900 students. And again, we opened those schools up several years ago, one for the smaller learning environment, but also to try to maintain the number of students that are at the high school. So when you look at the high school now with 3 accelerated academies and the new STEM academy coming on, we can have it, almost 2,000 students that would be leaving that the high school facility to help control the number of students that are there as well.
Commissioners have any other questions?
Yeah, just a question, Wayne. It sounds like there may be an increase then with this improvement. There may be an increase in students at this school. Is that right? I'm thinking of it with respect to the planning module, what we have to look at for planning module.
I'll let Wayne answer that, but I know we've done a sewer project narrative indicating, we're not really changing populations, but if we're doing these field trips, I'll need to know roughly average number of students per trip, how many times a year, so that I can calculate any kind of increase, but I'm assuming. it's
Okay.
gonna be-
Have you submitted that, or you say you're working on it?
It's in the project sewer narrative with the sketch plan, yes.
I'm sorry, it was, your voice is a little weak. Would you mind repeating that?
Yeah, we submitted a sewer narrative with the sketch plan.
Okay, okay, I haven't seen it yet. Very good. And Aristides, do you know, was there, I guess when this was originally approved, was there planning modules approved at that time?
That I don't know. We based our narrative on 13 months of water billing.
Yeah, I mean, it may already have more than adequate EDUs for what the flows are right now. It'd be good to see it. I would guess there was probably sewer modules when Thomas Ford was, what was it, 2005? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that when it was the last land of,
2005, yes.
Yeah.
yes.
yeah,
The building was built in the 60s.
Yes, but that is only a third of the original building that's currently being utilized by students, and that's probably less than a third of the students that were enrolled there. The old elementary school is the BCIU Learning Academy, which is individuals that have behavioral issues that spend 45 days there to work on academics and behavior issues, and then they're evaluated to return. So it starts off with a low number in the beginning of the year and can go up to, I think, about 100, 110 in the height of the school year. So far less students than it can house as an entire building.
Okay.
Just to comment on the previous question, the growing of the plants and the vegetables in the aquaponics will be managed by individual students that are at the RKAA. The visiting of the facility and learning about the process would only be the students that would be coming to there for field trips.
very good.
So we'll amend the sewer narrative based on the field trips and should be able to indicate that we're less than, maybe we're an additional EDU depending on that frequency and number of students, but I still
Okay.
think we'll need the need for any kind of planning.
I tend to agree with you. We just need something in writing in your narrative.
Yeah, I think with Thomas Ford Elementary being primarily offline, I think collectively we're under what the capacity would be for that space.
Yeah, because the magnet school, I believe the magnet school was approved for 300 students, right, originally, and then I think the elementary school that was open had 400 to be. So, from what I remember from back in the day when I was more involved in dealing with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And my daughter graduates tomorrow. So that's so maybe a little less up on the numbers as time goes on. But yeah, so you know, I believe we can take that into.
I appreciate that. I did have a couple more questions on some of the comments, in particular, lighting, landscaping. We don't have any proposed new lighting other than maybe a door.
Just gonna be for the building, just gonna be for the building.
Yeah.
All right.
And then landscaping, is there going to be any kind of landscaping associated with this? I mean, I don't know. There's existing vegetation to the east of the building, obviously, to the most of the south and west, it's their building. I don't know.
My guideline for to encourage it where it's possible.
Okay. And then, we don't have any proposed signs or details, so I'm not, you need a note indicating no signs.
Just say no signs.
I want to make sure that your questions are answered on a plan.
But your biggest hurdles that were discussed were special exception application, stormwater management, lighting module. Those are the big hurdles that you would have going into the next phase.
And scheduling meeting with the trades.
Yeah, since this is gonna be a different type of operation than what they were accustomed to in the past, this might be something you might want to sit down with them in advance. Let them know this, and if you're architect, coordinate that a little bit better, so when you get into the construction sequence, it's smoother. They know what to anticipate. It's not gonna be required as part of it. I would say it's not. No.
The only person that we've been working with, the local business that has similar projects, and has, was one that encouraged it for. I think once we determine the amount of growth that we can have and sustain, then I think we could look at, opportunities to partner with nonprofits, colleges.
Aquarium in there, the house of the fish.
Yeah, I think it's two. I think it's 800-gallon tanks. So it's gonna be tilapia, there's another fish that they grow, so they'll start small and, they can get quite large, so we'll have to try to figure out what we're doing with the fish and what we're doing with the food once they hit their, the maximum size. Yeah, fish mix in salad, right? That's-
One of the things I might want to consider is that I drove by Dalva Works Tuesday and there's people in there doing something.
Yeah.
Helping Harvest, yes, is putting in a kitchen. Oh, pretty expensive, that's like $1 million. I don't know if Jay would be interested.
We met with them, and we did discuss this opportunity of if we do see significant growth, that we might be able to have fresh vegetables for their operation. We're still investigating what it would require from a license perspective, what we need to do from a food handling perspective. But those are all things that we will be addressing as we advance this project. All great ideas.
Yeah, one thing I think we all try to do is try to facilitate cooperation. All the entities in the city. And, with this new kitchen opening up, it could open up some opportunities. Does anyone have anything else on this? Very good. Since this is a sketch plan, this does not require any action. But once again, we thank the school district for coming in and doing the sketch plan process with us again. I think it was proven in the past that it does help get the process in motion and the amount of days that it takes to get the plan approved.
They also attended a one-stop.
So, yeah. And I spoke to Mr. Crespo the other day, and I did mention that we do really appreciate the work that's being done and by the school district and cooperation.
Yeah, Ms. Crespo did share your comments, your kind of words, and again, we do feel that, the cooperation that we've established here has been beneficial for both parties. Certainly want to make sure that we can, clearly describe our project, so we have a good understanding throughout the community and move forward on solid footing and not have many changes as we advance. So, again, thank you for your cooperation, your kind words, those that are out in public.
And while we're here, I'm gonna thank Tim and his cohorts specifically with dealing with PennDOT on the other project. It's a challenge. We finally got some headway and he recognized that what he was asking for wasn't necessary. So hopefully we get an approved permit in hand for that.
Oh, so you don't have an HOP yet, right? So we're not out of the water yet.
I mean, and discuss later, but the new reviewer there is, I think, making a name for himself. I don't know if that's good for him.
Yeah, He definitely has. Yeah, keep me posted.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. Yeah, we have a few more things to go over, but not too much. Thank you, everyone. Okay,
All right, thank you.
And then we move on to Wawa number 153, preliminary final land development plan. This is the Wawa on Rockland Avenue.
Not submit any plans, or reports, so there's no action. There will be requirements next month for plan about time.
And next we have a driveway request for 227 Orange Street. From to, or Tim can do this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I can,
Yeah,
I
Emily,
can
you start.
introduce. Okay, so this is for 227 Orange Street. We received a zoning permit application for a surface parking area that would require a curb cut onto Orange Street. Per the zoning ordinance, if there is a 10-foot alley listed on the city alley map, we wouldn't be able to approve the curb cut. It would need to go through the alley. Did request to have the planning commission, so it's up to the planning, they can request the planning commission to waive that requirement and allow to do that. He had requested that because there has been building encroachments and kinds of less than sorry, my internet is down, so I can't pull up the plan. So that's pretty much the gist of it. The surface parking area is for 2 parking spaces. And yeah, they're requesting that waiver from the planning commission due to some encroachments that were in the alley that makes it less than 10 feet.
Or an oral zoning ordinance recommends or prefers that you use the alley.
Yeah, so because on the city alley map, it's officially a 10-foot alley, to do a curb cut would require approval from the planning commission. And so I will hand it over to Tim for any comments he has.
Yeah, and we did look at this at the request of zoning. Chris Lovell, Chris from our engineering office went out there, actually drove it, measured it. It's not only 10 feet wide on the map, it's 10 feet wide on the ground. There are a few items out there. I think there's a pole that you have to kind of drive around, but 10 feet is still pretty wide. I hope you can you hear me okay? Because I know it looks like we're experiencing some internet
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So we support the zoning's decision on this. This does seem to apply to zoning ordinance 1602.b, which says if there is a 10-foot minimum alley, the parking should be accessible from the alley rather than taking up space on the main street, on the city street, which is Orange Street. So we support that, and we don't see a reason for, I don't know if that would be a variance or a waiver because it's zoning. I don't even know if the planning commission can do
It's
that.
it's a waiver, yes. In the zoning ordinance, the planning commission may approve waiver of that rule to utilize the alley. They may provide a waiver in order to create that curb cut onto Orange Street.
So just to continue, if the planning commission were to provide a waiver, I hear now, and I confirm it with me here. Is it 2 spaces is what they're proposing?
Yes.
Two off-street spaces if they were, well, I guess either way. But what they're proposing is 2 off-street spaces with a new driveway off of Orange Street. If the zoning ordinance were not applicable, Public Works would probably approve that because, again, I'd have to look at some of the logistics. We would approve it as long as the net gain, as long as there was a net gain in parking. In other words, if it took one space of on-street parking to provide one space of off-street parking, that's a net gain of 0. It effectively, it gives the homeowner a private parking space. And we don't find that to be equitable. We think that you should be using the public parking for the public and not for private. But if they're providing 2 spaces, you do get a net gain of 1 additional off-street space. Again, we take a look at it and we may give that a favorable approval if, again, the planning commission were to approve a waiver.
I
May I speak? I'm the one that put the application in.
Yeah, the applicant is on. Go ahead, Charlie.
I mean, I measured the alleyway from top to bottom. The alleyway is from 8.6 feet to 9.4. There's no point in that alleyway that's anywhere close to 10 feet. I mean, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm coming before the board. I don't want to do anything, outside, but the alleyway is not viable because it doesn't measure that wide. It doesn't, even at the beginning of it is houses that are long way that were built in 1909, and it's only 9'6" at the entrance. So those houses were built before the topographical map was even made. I'm asking for approval to do the right thing. There's houses in the neighborhood that have 4 and 5 cars. I'm trying to provide 2 off-street parking spaces while only taking away 1. So I would just like the commission to consider this. I realize it's off of Orange Street and that's not normal, but the alleyway is not viable. I mean, I can show pictures. I don't have them right here, but I can show you pictures. The measurements in no place are 10 foot wide. And they haven't been since the houses were built. So I thank you for your consideration in this.
So I'll pull it up on the street view.
I mean, Miss Diaz, did anybody go out and take the actual measurements? Can you tell me what they came back with?
They came
Yeah.
back with kind of what you had already said, yeah. So this is, I'll share my screen here. So this is the lot right here. This is the house that is with the lot. Yeah, there's enough to accommodate. Well, this is the street. This isn't the alley.
understand.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
We get a view of the other.
Yeah.
That's why I want to let them watch.
Yeah,
So this
Mr.
is,
Reed, yeah, Mr. Reed, while they're pulling this up, I have a question for you. My understanding is that there are other homes that use the alley for off-street parking. Is that correct? I haven't been out there, but our engineering aide was out there.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I really don't go out there that much. I mean, there's no garages except for up at the very end, and half of them are collapsed. So I could not honestly answer that question for you. I mean, even by Google, you can see roofs are collapsed on the garages that used to be there.
Yeah, our inspector was out there. He was able to drive the alley. It's a very drivable alley. Up on the north end, he had to do a bit of a 3-point turn up where Emily is moving there to the north, where it makes a T, and that would be a bit
Yeah,
of a
and
trick to make the turn to exit up there because it's a little tight around that 90-degree turn.
yeah, yes, and that's one of the things. I mean, my wife is 67. She shattered both of her ankles, and I'm not attempting to use that as an excuse. She can't walk very well, and there is no viable parking options anywhere within city blocks of where I live. And like I said, we're trying to do the right thing. There's trying to make that turn at the top. No, you have to do a 3-point turn to make that turn. Especially in bad weather, you can't do it.
My neighbor's wife, that's basically the same condition. She actually has a degenerative condition. But they have a handicap spot in front of their house. Wouldn't it be easier to just obtain a handicap space in front of your house?
She's not considered handicapped.
Yeah, you'd
She
have to.
does not walk very well, but as far as the legal term of handicap,
You'd have to have a PennDOT placard for your car to apply.
right. I mean, like I said, I've owned the property for many years. There was a house that was there that burned down. I paid out of pocket to tear that down, and it was a double lot for my parents before I bought the house. I'm trying to do the right thing coming to the commission. But there's just nothing here. There's no place to park. So I'm trying to do the right thing here. So I'm asking for your consideration in this matter. I mean, I've lived in this city 60 years and I have no plans to leave. I'm kind of don't know what to do, especially when she comes home and we need a place to go.
A quick question here. If the driveway access is permitted on Orange, how many parking spaces would that end up losing?
Well, I'm providing 2. How much it would lose, but would be up to Tim as to how wide of a driveway cut he would allow me.
Yeah, typically it's the same thing because you're going to have to pull in and back out. So you're going to be backing out onto the sidewalk and backing out onto a live street. Orange Street is a minor street. It's 25 miles per hour. Typically we require, and we often don't even mark them because there's thousands of driveways and there's, same situation. You pull in and you back out. But you would expect that you would need at least one parking stall length of clear sight to get in and out and to be able to see cars.
But I would be providing 2 off-street parking spaces
Right.
and I would do that.
So we would probably have 20 feet of length dedicated to that driveway entrance, which is 1 parking space. That's what I would anticipate.
And so it would be up to the commission to vote on whether or not to approve the waiver.
Does commissioners have any more questions or discussion on this matter?
Yeah, we'll have the same question about the handicap, but we already answered that.
So we'll ask you this. They can still make off parking. making a 3-point turn or whatever it is to get into the alley side. Or since then backing out onto a live street.
It seems like you have to make a 3-point turn on orange as well.
Yeah, right. So, no, it's sort of Moxner's, so they can achieve the goal. That becomes parking. Entrance off the alley. They can shape it so that it has a generous radius. Lots of work with. House lot and the empty lot. Right, cheaper than. It will be at the end of the street, not behind the house. Right, that's what they're saying is, get out, alley.
Yeah.
Right, there's a sharp turn there, but is that any worse than backing out of the driveway onto the Pine Street? Where there's parking cars on the side of the driveway. But that's not necessarily easy either. Cars parked opposite, it's like parking on both sides, that's not even. Screens. But is there no parking on the right side of the street?
No, there is.
I see a car.
I think this was just probably a cleaning day or something. Yeah.
That makes.
Yeah.
Car. Yeah, it won't be from the driveway.
I mean, most people know what it would be like to go through that alleyway in the wintertime or in any time of bad weather. It would be impassable.
That's the alley there.
That's the alley to the alley.
Yeah, well, that's. That alley is in better shape than the one in back of my house. And everybody uses the alley in back of my house.
That's as good as what picture you're gonna get.
And we also have a telephone pole in the way.
I do have, it won't let me pull it up, but I do have pictures that, Chris Lovell had taken. So I don't know if you want to wait to see those, when I have better internet access, and table it and then make a decision next month, or if you have enough information now to render a vote.
Yeah, and to add to that, Chris Lovell also took some dimensions too, as well as Mr. Reed, and you would have that. I can't pull it up either because I can't get to my emails right now.
But, stop that. That's. There are a lot of pedestrian. Orange Street backing up. Where's the back?
Orange Street is surprisingly busy because the school's right there.
Yeah, it's nice. There are school kids that are walking on that street. So it's backing up.
Yeah, I would suspect so.
I will say that the sidewalk in front of my home from where I would be parking is 13 feet wide. So there would be a availability for visibility issues for anybody walking down the street.
So, what is the feeling of the commission? Should we table this for more information from Public Works? That
Yeah, as soon as I get,
technically do that, but we just have to-
yeah.
or would you prefer to vote on this?
Public Works says it's good. Go. And look at the neighbors. They will reduce the spot.
I mean, if you're worried about the neighbors, none of the neighbors have a problem with this happening. They all wish they could do it.
And that is one of the considerations when we put blighted properties together, that people would do exactly what Mr. Reed did and demolish the house and make it work. I think the question is, how accessible is the alley? Like I said, that alley looks better than the one in back of my house. And
Well,
all my neighbors use.
I mean, I've driven up there once or twice and attempting to pull into a stall in the back of my house and trying to back out of there. And in any type of inclement weather, we're stuck in the house because you're not moving. Because nobody's taking care of that alleyway. I mean, overgrown weeds, telephone poles, fences half fallen down, cinder block walls that are tilted halfway into the alleyway. It's pretty challenging. And not being able to turn right at the top, I mean,
Like it. Right, exactly. Yeah, like I said, that's still in much better condition than the alley in back of my house. And I have about a dozen neighbors. You show the alley at the other end?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know who drove up there and tried to turn around that, but if you have a decent sized car, there's no way you're gonna make that turn without hitting the neighbor's fences or hitting the cement on the other side.
Yeah, now, just to add, I did have a chance to talk to Chris, who did that, who did the drive, and he said, yes, making the turn to the east, that would be a right turn going north.
Oh,
Go-
right here.
Yeah, going right would be very difficult because it looks like the one building maybe even encroaching on that portion of the alley. But he said he did make the left turn and went west, but he did have to pull back at least once or twice to make the turn. It's not like something you can just pull around. But as our chairman said too, this is very typical of alleys in the city of Reading. And we got to be careful about setting a precedent.
I completely understand that, but like where you're looking at right now, that's 9 foot 6 inches wide. And those houses were built, I believe it was around 1909. The alleyway wasn't even 10 foot wide back then. And you can't see up the alleyway right with those pictures, but Chris could probably tell you there's cinder block fences that are just ready to collapse all the way up through that alleyway. And then you got the telephone pole up there. That makes it, that's like 8'5" where the telephone pole is. I mean, it's not a feasible option for older people like us to try and get in and out of there, back in and out, 3-point turns just to leave. So, like I said, I'm asking for the commission consideration in this matter. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of up to you guys for discussion.
Yeah, the other problem is that on Orange Street there, since there is parking across the street, technically, I used to rent a garage on Madison. Technically, that curb is marked yellow, so nobody is supposed to park there, but nobody follows. So of course, what I would always do is actually back into the garage.
And actually, my consideration here was that if Tim Crawl approves the curb cut and you approve it, was to put the one side of the curb cut a little bit more curved so that we can back in instead of pull straight in, so we can pull straight out.
I think with that, I will, request a motion to,
I think I'm able to access the pictures and stuff. I'm just. Yeah, here we go. Let me know when you're done reading and I'll go through the pictures. Oh, sorry. Or not. Okay, so that's the property. The measurement directly behind the property. And then this is 8.7 between the pole and the corner of the property. This was the 8.7 here. And then 8.6.
use the alley.
No, he only took pictures of the measurements that he took.
Michelle, are you still available? I have a question. I don't know, Emily, maybe you know.
I'm here, Tim. Sorry. I had a
Okay.
cough, so I walked away to get a drink.
That's all right. That's fine. The ordinance, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure Emily knows it. It says something like, for alleys with a minimum width of 10 feet, the owners shall use the alleys for parking access. So the question is, when it says a minimum of 10 feet, is that the legal width or is that the physical width? It applies to alleys with a minimum width of 10 feet. It has a legal width of 10 feet, but as we can see from Mr. Reed and Chris Lovell, there are places, maybe overall, that you would say the average is actually less than 10 feet physically.
Why are you saying illegal? What do we have saying that it is 10 width, 10, minimum 10 width?
We have a
This is
map. We have an alley map which says it's 10 feet. We could also go back to deeds to verify that too and look at the deeds, because typically in the city of Reading, the deeds, the rear line of the property terminates at the alley rather than going under the alley. it actually terminates at the alley. So the remaining width, you could do the math and figure out that it's 10 feet, but it's showing that on the alley map, which is not an official map. It's not a right-of-way map, but it shows where the alleys are and what the intended width is. And the intended width is 10 feet.
Yeah, I would, if we could check it with the deeds.
Mhm.
If the deeds are unclear and we have no confirmation that this was ever 10 feet, zoning ordinances, the ambiguity gets resolved in consideration of the applicant.
Okay, yeah, I told Chris to hold off. I didn't know if we had to go there, but if we have to go there, we can do that. We can pull up the deeds and do a little math check on it just to see.
So do we
Yep.
want to table if it even requires a vote? And until they can do the math?
Yeah. Let's,
So we'll table to give Public Works time to check the deeds. And then if it turns out that it comes out less than 10 feet, then you won't need to make any action and we can just do it at staff level.
that would also give us an opportunity to walk it if we have a chance.
Since this had also sent a message here, he said, I could not hear everything and it sounds like more info would help. So I would be in favor of tabling the request.
Yeah.
This is.
So do I hear a motion to table? James? Diane here, second. Dan? Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. If we are unanimous,
And so, yep, so Charlie, I'll coordinate with Public Works with the deed check. And then if it turns out that the alley is less than 10 feet, I could, we can just approve it at staff level without an official commission vote.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll see.
All
So
right,
happens.
well, thank everybody for their time and listening to me.
okay, well, that's, we appreciate you coming and, joining us at the meeting. Some of these type of, requests, the applicant, does not take the time to join us. We thank you very much, Mr. Reed.
No, you're quite welcome. I appreciate it.
That, we will move on to the updates on the zoning and Salo amendment.
No, first, Albright, Exeter Hall.
Oh, don't I have the most updated?
Maybe not. It's Albright Exeter Hall escrow release number 2.
This,
Escrow release number
yeah,
2.
I know we were talking.
Which is in the amount of $26,497.48, which the applicant has reimbursed the account. For these are for some site improvements as well as for funds that were administrative funds that were taken up by the project. There still is a significant amount of funds left for maintenance, which is the primary purpose of where we're at this point. But some of these things were left for consideration at a later date once the applicant has achieved. So we're recommending that that this escrow release. There's 2 checks that were issued, $5,384.88 and $21,112.60, which should total the $26,497.48. So as you recall, we did escrow release number 1 back in November of last year, and required action by the planning commission.
Do I hear a motion to return the escrow amount of $26,497.48 to, Albright College on the external, project. Yeah. And second, James? Yeah, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I failed to note it when I reviewed the draft agenda. There are two other matters that I believe the city received a request for escrow release. The Schaefer subdivision on Belvedere, and as we discussed last week at the workshop, the Reading Parking Authority. If the commission is so inclined, because they're administrative and because they're not expending any city funds, you could amend the agenda if staff is ready to make a recommendation on release of those escrows. Could make a motion to amend the agenda to include those and such, if the staff is ready.
Emily's ready?
I mean, I received the email saying that it was good to go, so.
Very good. Which one we do?
We'll make the
Schaefer
motion,
subdivision?
if you want to make the motion to amend. Schaefer and, RPA for like 9th Street.
Do I hear a motion to, amend the agenda to include the escrow release for the Schaefer subdivision and the Reading Parking Authority Dembowski parking lot at 625 9th Street? Here. There. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Do we have the amounts for this?
I don't have them on me.
I don't have the copy. But I think we can go through this. The Schaefer subdivision, that project did not require a municipal improvements agreement.
Mm-mm.
Required, they posted a bond.
A letter of credit.
For the estimates, I believe. All the work has been completed to our satisfaction. We've been coordinating with the Public Works Department as well, with the underground stormwater management facilities that were required. They were not inspected by our office, but Building and Trades has claimed that those connections were made. Tim, you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, and we had a concern from somebody out there. Our sewers superintendent, Bob Gensmer, was out there and he heard something about there might be flooding in the basement, but we're not hearing that from any of the owners. And the Chris Geltz from Building and Trade says that it was installed correctly. The sumps are in there. It passed inspection. So I have no problem with that, with the stormwater management. I did have a concern for the developer with the elevated sewer stacks out front. And he assured me that he would correct that. And that was last week. I drove by just before the meeting and they did correct that. So everything from Public Works standpoint has been resolved and we're ready to recommend a release of escrow.
And we're holding an 18-month maintenance period, I believe, and we have the stormwater management escrow separately.
Yes, we do.
So if we don't have exact numbers, we can make a recommendation to approve a condition upon the numbers agreed to by Jerome and Tim.
So do I hear a motion to release the 18-month maintenance period escrow for the Schaefer subdivision? As approved by Public Works and Palm Valley Associates.
Just to clarify, you're gonna hold everything except for the 15% under the 18 months.
And I think Tim, that translates to roughly around $4,000. I think the escrow is about $28,000.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If you give me a
That-
moment, I can see if I can find the improvements agreement. It's gonna take me a second, though.
That way we can take it as part of the motion. Here it is.
Ugh. Okay, you're not gonna find it that way. I'm searching a couple different ways. Just give me a moment. Oh, sure. And of course I freeze my computer.
Well, I think the motion's safe, regardless. I think we just reduce it down to 50%.
Yeah, the original was 29,000.
And the motion to state 15% of the escrow amount. Okay. Very good. And you made the motion, Dave? And the second, James. Okay, question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Next, we will go on to the Reading Parking Authority, Dembowski parking lot at 625 9th Street. Site improvements for this project have been completed to the satisfaction of my office. This included the stormwater management facilities as well. Site accessibility issues have all been resolved that we had out on site. Everything looks like it's been or appears that it's been completed as per the plan. The things that we would look for as it's reduced is reduction to 15% of maintenance. And also we need an as-built plan yet.
So do you want to recommend the reduction upon receipt of the as-built?
We could, I wasn't sure if the applicant scheduled it, it's line item, I believe, in the escrow. Michelle, I think we have might have been a $3,000 value. So, we do have that as a line item, and then we do have 50% of the construction costs.
So you would want to keep enough for the whatever the line item is for the as-built and the 15% for maintenance.
I think so, unless there's another recommendation.
I'm okay with that. I mean, we could give them the option before we do the letter releasing it, to either submit the as-built or we're gonna hold the funds. Cause they may have as-built already prepared.
Yeah, the as-bills are real simple.
Yeah.
So that would also be a reduction in escrow to hold only 50%.
Yes.
Hey, Jerome, this is Tim. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit. The only concern I had was, were they able to go and remark the no parking spaces out on Weiser Street? They did correct it. Now it's according to plan, correct? Okay, all right, then Public Works is good with it.
Therefore, do I hear a motion to, hold 15, release the escrow, except for holding 15% for maintenance fee and requiring the submission of the as-built plans to the city. James? Second? Go forward, Jen. Okay, Danny? On the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye? Can't imagine anything's gonna go wrong with this project. What's that? I mean, it's a service parking area. Yeah, right. Yeah, and if they mark the stuff, then I think. Did we do project now? Doing the project. It's gonna be a big sinkhole. The guy will be starting to be. It's a big sinkhole. Well,
Be like the, what is that, extra? Get that place out extra where the liquor store is now and it used to be Staples and then Hallmark. And, you know, that plan got approved 2 years afterwards, huge sinkhole. $2 million in excavation fees. Okay, so we will move on to the update on the zoning of Saldo amendments.
Graduation day. All right, so we have the zoning and saldo amendments for just everyone's refresher. We had phase 1 and phase 2 amendments. We were waiting for First County Planning Commission review for quite a long time. We've gotten all those comments in. We did presentations before City Council. We did presentations before the zoning hearing board as well as the planning commission on what these improvements are. It's going to be 5 recommendations that we're looking for. There's the phase 1 zoning amendments. That's the multiple issue one, which has daycares, permit requirements, sidewalks, gaming devices, and permit criteria, just to name a few. So that would be number 1. Then number 2 would be phase 1 saldo, which would be the transfer of the streetscape improvements from zoning into saldo, so it doesn't require zoning hearing board relief. Then we go to phase 2, and I'll repeat these again. Then we go to phase 2 zoning, which is the comprehensive amendments to the adaptive reuse requirements. Then we go to phase 2 zoning, which is directly related to part 16 of the zoning ordinance, which is parking and loading, which is all comprehensive. And then finally, phase 2 saldo, which is the parking design criteria. If you have over a certain amount of lots, you're allowed reduction in the number of spaces you are required to provide. So those are 5 separate ones. Council will have, once you make your recommendation, council will have their first reading of these ordinances. So the first one's phase 1. It's a phase 1 zoning. I apologize. We made all the revisions that were necessary, and then just council prefers that they are put in a red line version as well. We're just making sure that we have the stuff.
So we'll go first with a motion to recommend to city council the approval of the phase 1 zoning amendments. Second. Yeah. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? I hear a motion to recommend to council the approval of the phase 1 subdivision and land development ordinance amendments. Jane? Second? Okay. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Next is the phase 2 zoning adaptive reuse. Okay, do I hear a motion to recommend to council the approval of the zoning amendments for adaptive reuse for phase 2? Second. James? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Next is phase 2 zoning parking and loading, that's the Park 16. Motion to recommend the council the parking and zoning parking and loading Park 16 to the zoning ordinance amendments. Peter? Second? All those in favor? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And then lastly, we have this, these 2 Saldo, that's the transfer of parking design criteria. Do I hear a motion for the phase 2 subdivision and land development ordinance amendments that includes the parking design criteria being moved from the zoning ordinance to the Saldo? Peter? Second? Okay. Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he's been so since we had comments about him, I told him, I was like, it might be easier, just email me. That way we have kind of a written record of what he says. So for the record, he did send an email that he's in favor of approving all 5 of the ordinance amendments.
Thank you for everyone's work on this. It's done 3 years.
Yeah.
Lots of go forward, move back, go forward. But it was thanks.
Yeah, I think
It's not over yet.
Yeah. But still, yeah, but it's still, especially with.
We still have, did you, about the zoning map revision, do we have any update? Okay, no update on it.
Are we ready?
Oh, I'll put word that, we haven't kind of.
Oh, yeah, well, we have to wait.
Okay.
So I didn't get it.
Okay, we'll wait for the county review. This is the,
They were way over on their time that was for phase 1 and 2 amendments as well. They were 47 days.
so they have some catching up. But we'll give them another 30 days. We'll look at this in June meeting. Sure. Yeah. All right, very good. Next up, we have the Downtown Plus plan update from Simon.
Thank you so much. I would like to bring to your attention the existence of Downtown Strategic Plan, which was developed in 2021, 2022. This plan was presented on 13th to the council, and to some of our members here. But what I don't know is whether some of us have it. We have put it on the shared drive so that members of the board can have it. But I'm also proposing that we move forward with this plan because this plan gives us a broad idea of what we can be able to, how we can go about improving the city. I'll ask Emily to run quickly through the slides.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to share it so that I can do this, but it keeps on changing my settings.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, we'll just do it this
Yeah.
way.
So this plan is not new. It has been around and it was developed through Stanley, our consultant who was contracted, and it was done for the city. Ideally supposed to guide us in revitalizing the downtown in the city of Reading. But as it has happened up to this point, it has not been adapted. And as one of the initiatives that we have picked up to look at some of the plans we have, we think we have done enough already and we have done a lot. We have invested. It feels like it will be waste for us to find a consultant or invest another money to do another plan when we already have some which are done and can give us what we are looking for. So I'm presenting this as one of the plans. If you look at this one, it was developed in 2021, 2022, and it is among the various plans that we have. A discussion has been going on with a number of colleagues, especially at the administrative level, and have also reached out to some of the commissioners regarding this. This plan is a combined effort of Reading, the city of Reading. It is an effort of the community that was very actively involved in it. And also I would like to add that the county as well did put in putting together this plan. It brings formation and development of this plan basically focuses on core aspects of the city of Reading. And for it to be put in place, we looked at the history, transformational trends, economic status, demographics, mobility, and environment. I'm trying to move quickly because of time, so that we don't spend more time here. But if you look at it, it kind of was developed from a comprehensive background. So it is not a kind of a plan that you can say it was, on a two-player plan. It kind of came from a basis where critical information was collected to be able to put this plan together. Now, if you look at all this, these are critical points where the city is basically focusing on. Development of this plan, when it was put in place, it was supposed to lead the city of Reading and the city of Reading towards being seen as a region, or to lead the city of Reading towards more economically competitive, equitable, livable, and resilient future. So really, during the development of this plan, it was seen as one of the vehicles that is going to guide us into the future. So if you look at the structure of the plan, especially the implementation aspect, it still touches the critical points that are still going to be very valuable for us here in the city. These are some of the areas that the plan focuses on. I will not talk about all of them, but if you look at them, they are quite essential, especially for us in the city. If you look at the aspect of housing, it is still critical that we think about that. The Riverfront Park, I think there is a lot of back and forth as to whether we should do something about that or we should not, subject of discussion. There was an issue of lighting within the city, and some people have brought out concerns that our city is not safe and people don't simply come here or do business in the evening because of lighting. So all of this, if you look at them, they are critical, and I feel there are key points that we can think about as we continue looking through this plan. Now, as one of the things that we are starting to look at, the community development is coming out and is putting forward recommendations both to the commission and to the council at one point. And one of them is that this plan is adapted, because if we adapt this plan, it will give us an opening to move forward and leave behind where we have been thinking, we have nowhere to go, we have nothing. I think it will be a good vehicle to help us move forward. There is the aspect of accountability and monitoring of time and resources that we are using. And as a result of that, we feel like the planning office is given an opportunity to collaborate with the departments, especially in developing the plans that are going to be used to implement the key activities. And then the aspect of financial, the finance department getting involved in all the planning and all the costing of things will help us at the end of the day to sit here and know how much has been put into cost, how much we need in terms of putting into the implementation, and it will give us an idea of the overall expenditure that the city has incurred in terms of implementation or what is expected in terms of budget. This plan today I'm presenting to you, I'm not seeking for an action at this point, but I'm asking that we take the time. The City of Reading Planning Commission takes the opportunity to review this plan in preparation for a discussion. I'm hoping that we take an opportunity to look at it critically on the 18th so that we can deliberate on it, and then from there we can decide on the way we can move with this plan. Thank you.
It should already, so this was something that Naomi worked on. So it should be in the FTP site, but we can always just send it to you via email directly.
Yeah, it is there. I was looking at it today.
Yeah. We have it. And, yes, that's right here.
Tim, where is it at on the FTP stuff?
Oh, Simon, where did I tell you I found it? 2024. Simon did a nice job of reorganizing our FTP site, and I think was it 2024? Did you put it in the year that it was? Yeah, you tell it.
So within the FTP site, the way we have been accessing the folders, we have created the folders within the FTP site, and we have organized them by years: 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So within the 2024, if you go in there, you find May, the month in which we are working on these issues, and the plan is right there.
Right. And it's
Yes,
long.
sure.
It's a volume. It's like over 100 pages without the amendments.
This is just the implementation section.
Yeah.
Which I began reading over the weekend, and it's not that I already discussing.
Yeah.
Discussing certain things to get some ideas.
One thing I wanted to add is that the plan has appendices that are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 7. So as you look at the plan, the appendices will give you an idea of how the consultant and the whole team were thinking about the various sections as they were putting the plan together.
I couldn't remember if this was presented to the Planning Commission, but I remember among staff, and Jamal would refer to it as the Stantec plan over the past few years. It's quite an effort.
Yeah. So where is it?
I just emailed it to you guys. It might take a second. But if you go under 2024, May 2024. And then downtown plus strategic. Did you get it? Okay. The email will eventually get to you guys.
Yeah, I did start looking over this.
I'll do it later.
It has
It's too big.
interesting things, and then funny thing is that last week in the Reading Eagle there was an article about development in West Reading, and page 7 of their development plan talks about West Reading interacting with the city of Reading to do something about the whole Penn Avenue corridor, which is one of the recommendations in this plan. So it's kind of like, well, gee, this seems like the right time to start thinking about this, because West Reading actually has their development. And then, this morning, the Reading Eagle released an article about that that city's in pretty good financial shape. And this is the type of planning that would help keep it that way. So seems like the right time to do this.
Right.
Does anyone have anything else on that? It's like,
So we're gonna, together the 18th.
Yes. Yeah, those are going to be action sessions. Yes. We're hoping that, with the plan now shared with every one of us, will have an opening to look through it, and if there is any question or maybe a recommendation or best career thought, we can discuss it on 18. Then after that, then we can now think about how we can move it forward for adoption together.
We ultimately have to get city council plan.
To adopt.
Yes.
To adopt it.
They have to adopt it. That is the stage that has not happened, and as a result of that, the plan cannot be implemented, and as with that not happening, we cannot look for funding, we cannot basically do anything in the city without that.
So if we were to approve it or bless it or something like that, legal. There is some way, I don't know.
Yeah, so before council can adopt any plan, planning commission would need to recommend approval to them.
And we have already utilized or extracted a lot of information.
Can everyone hear us? Oh, yep. Hold on 1 second. I have to connect back to the room.
I can hear you, Emily.
Okay, 1
Yeah.
second. I have
Yep.
to connect back in the room.
Yeah. While we can.
Yeah. No, this is good, but this downtown plus plan, we talked about or initiated quite a few years ago now. I'm wondering what's become of it.
Yeah.
Pick it up again.
Well, I ate, Simon and I had breakfast one day. And we discussed stuff for 2.5 hours with all the plants sitting on the shelf. And Simon went through a lot of them with the help of Jerome and Shannon. And he picked up on this one, thinking that this one has the best, what's the most recent. Yeah.
Is the council going to be asking questions regard to this plan? We're recommending it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. When you look at the plan that was discussed, those come with costs. So I believe Stantec did provide some costs for certain projects. So then you gotta think that that was done in 2021, 2022. And as we let this plan sit, costs go up or escalate. And you gotta put that in perspective. I mean, a lot of things are, when you do cost estimates for these types of plans, are done with the thought of it's not going to be done right away anyway. So they should put an inflation factor into it. Or a cost of living factor.
Well, costs, but also, I haven't looked at it, so. Who owns it and which department owns the items that are in it? That's what I'm gonna be looking for, like, who's responsible for it in these areas. I mean, you can put it, see, I've been part of a lot of strategic plans, once you can operationalize it.
Well, that's part, once it's adopted, we can then see where we can kind of delegate some of it. I know years ago, when the city did the STAR program and got the STAR certification, I had contact with the fire marshal because there were some things regarding fire safety stuff. Contact with Linda Kelleher in the city clerk's office because there were certain things regarding like personnel. So once the plan is adopted, that will allow us to then have these meetings to be like, okay, where can we delegate? Who can be in charge of certain aspects of it? And who's gonna kind of be the program manager to kind of make sure that everything is kind of being worked on.
So what each recommendation does, it identifies the program, then the lead agency that would be involved. The purpose of the goal that would be relevant to that particular recommendation. The applicant eligibility, whether or not we're eligible for that type of funding or not. What the eligibility is for a loan or grant, and what maximum amounts that should be considered. Also additional requirements and notes. The funding cycle, when those funds become available, and then the contact person. So for each recommendation, it provides a short synopsis or an abbreviation of at least pointing you in the right direction.
So who in the city would be ultimately responsible for implementing?
Planning office. Well, would it be planning office and also the downtown?
This plan as it is right now, it's really complicated. But once the plan is adopted, the intention is we're going to break down this plan and have it distributed. Like, for example, within that plan, there is an aspect where public works will have to take an initiative. Within that plan, there is an aspect where the parking authority will have to take the initiative. Within the plan, there is an aspect where, like, for example, we have a manager, downtown manager, who is also working in things. But also there is an aspect, the plan talks about establishing an implementation team in the city. And that team will take charge of overseeing the implementation process. But that also does not mean that the rest of us will take the hands off. We have to be accountable because at the end of the day, whatever happens as the city, we have to also go down there and make sure it's being done well. Some of them will be coming to us. So to answer the question, and I will call for also addition from colleagues, the aspect of implementation comes to us as a city, but also working with various bodies that are collaborating with us.
So we met with the parking authority director.
Yes.
He has some initiatives. Yes, that he's been tasked with doing, that he wants to do. Is that part of the strategic plan? I mean, yes, he's seen it and he goes, oh, this aligns with what I'm trying to do, because if he's going out one way and the plan says, well, we want you to go going down the other way, he's gonna be like, oh, I need to do where people are planning to those.
So when we send it out, maybe we should send a copy to Rafael, be like, does this line up with what you're planning?
Well, all department directors, you're like, hey, this is what your office is being tasked with. Maybe they wanna amend it or tweak it or sign off on it, because, or are they just being told this is what you. We also, the way we want to approach it is that when this plan is adopted, the planning office will go down these various patterns. That plan, like the way it is, has aspects that cannot be holistically. So we shall have to break them down, like, for example, with the parking authority. With what they have, that's why I was asking the other day, which plan are you using at this point? So that we take what they have, interlink it with this one, so that we have a plan that can guide them, let's say, for so many years. And at the end of the day, if we talk about parking authority, when they are coming to the board, to the commission, for example, they will have to show us how much progress they have made with the plan put together. Part of that from here, part of what they have been working on, so they have to be accountable for that aspect. And then the same thing is going to happen with the, let's say, the public works, what team has been working on and what the plan is proposing, so that we move that way. But at the end of the day, we are going to account this plan. At the end of the day, when we look at this plan, we have to say we have been able to address milestone A, milestone B, how that way. And the planning team is made up of current employees within the city.
Yes, the planning team is made of employees within the city. This is basically the planning team, the three of us, but we have linkages with different groups, that we not call them groups, different parties within the city that also we are collaborating as well.
There's a lot of big ideas in the plan. And the best thing is that we would hope for that there's a strategic implementation strategy that evolves from it. And I always like to see that there would be a committee such as a comprehensive plan implementation committee. And then that way, there's accountability that has to be done. So when that committee meets, they can then say, we need to focus on this recommendation. It's gonna cost us this amount. Now we gotta go to city council and say, we need money to do this type of project. Or we have these funds that could be available to implement the plan. So that's the best way of doing it, because then there's accountability. If you just adopt it and then say, okay, we did it, and then there's this no accountability. It's not like what we just did with the zoning and subdivision amendments. I mean, because those are gonna be utilized right away by other folks. But it's up to the city to make sure that happens. There's ways to achieve that, and I think Simon's taking the right approach.
Basically, we can't really create the implementation team until the plan is adopted.
And I'll forward an email to you that I sent to Simon and Jerome with my ideas. Because I think Peter and Danny would maybe but James too, and of course Will, that my implementation team is 13 people. That might be too big, or maybe not big enough. I don't know. The one that I came, the one that I came up with. The other thing is that there are recommendations in here that, like the Riverfront Park, there used to be a nonprofit in City of Reading called River Place that was funded by who funded it, but it was basically a private individual who funded it, and that eventually fell apart. But a lot of the recommendations that River Place made are actually in here.
Yeah, I would think a lot of department heads, so if that's common sense, that's what they want to do, which would be what people outside of the organization comes to that same conclusion. It's like Penn Street, you said, that's right. It's like- Makes sense.
Yeah, so Just
Hey.
seems to be the right time. Yep.
Yeah, Wayne, I don't mean to interrupt, but yeah, in fact, I just let Jamal, gave him a little bit of a background of what I could recall from River Place. That was John Weidenheimer was one of the main, persons that involved, I think, Bob Baylor, is that right? Was the other one on River
sounds-
Place. Yeah, and it went strong. It was going strong in the early 2000s, about 20 years ago. And it just kind of fizzled out, I think, for lack of funding or something. There was also a strong push along the riverfront to keep the riverfront natural as opposed to developing the riverfront, like you see in San Antonio or something like that. But if you're interested, I have the final comprehensive plan, which I should give to Emily so she could put that on the FTP site for those that are
Oh, we
interested.
got it. It's on.
Okay, good.
We had the 2000 and the 2015 one.
Oh, there's a 2015 one.
There's 2051 that was not adopted.
I haven't seen that one. Okay.
It's Okay, so we have that sent out. We have a little bit of background. So we will move on to our last few items here. First is the motion to reaffirm the land development plan for 138 South 8th Street. Do I hear a motion? Peter? Okay, second? Second. James? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Second is the plan reaffirmation for 338 North 6th Street. Do I hear a motion? Peter, second. Dan? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay. And the last one is the project reaffirmation for the Reading School District softball field. Danny? Second? Second. James? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, very good. Next up, we have time extensions. Let's see. Yeah, so next month we will have time extensions. And Mitsubishi 2040 Center Avenue. Or what else is there?
Would you have a time extension?
Yeah, all right, and then on the, we have here, Glen Road dedication, any update on that, Tim?
Yeah, it's dedicated. City council approved. It went through its whole cycle. We have an ordinance and Glen Road is now Glen Road and it's on the official topographic plan. So that's what's allowing us to move forward with Castlewood. So we're all finished on that. And like I said, with the Castlewood, it'll be pretty much a rerun of what we did with Glen Road. Same situation since we're actually opening the road and adding it to the official topographic plan.
Update on McDonald's at Knife and Spring.
They are scheduled for ZHB for their June hearing.
Okay, that sounds good. Whenever the act plans require time extension. So our next, gonna hand it over to Peter because I noticed that your next meeting is June 6th with Wyatt Progress. It is, yeah. Okay, I got a one of those AI messages today. Yeah. And it was like, it took the agenda and put it into words. It was pretty interesting. So,
Yeah, no, there's nothing particular to report, other
Yeah.
than, it's happening on a regular basis, consistently now for this year. So,
great. So the problems are fixed there that they were having. Okay, next piece, planning commission meetings are June 18th, 2024, where we will talk about the Downtown Plus plan. And then our regular meeting will be June 25th, 2024. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the order? And hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
yes.
Peter? Danny? Question on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed. I was supposed to do
The ayes have it.
Okay. I was on Zoom. Let's see what happens.